Check, 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 check. All right. We're riding. We're still riding. Next panel is on navigating ethics, compliance, legal, and taxes. All right? Ethics, ride. Taxes, ride. We have the absolute goats of these topics. We have Alyssa Jordan, your favorite lawyer's lawyer. We have Justin Macari, a CPA and business owner of Mac Tax, ride. We have Shekinah, a general counsel, and she works for Dead Fellows. Let's go, give it up!
All right, GT, thanks for stepping up and killing it as MC. Also, I want to give a big thanks to everybody out there, all our V friends. Without you guys, none of this would happen. It also doesn't hurt is the first community in history that gives a shit about what we have to say up here. All right, so first, before we get started, an obligatory disclaimer that I'm sure all of you have heard and know and love. While everybody up here is either a legal or tax professional, they're not your legal or tax professional, so none of this is legal or tax advice, and always consult your own counsel or accountant before doing it. So, to get things started, my name's Alex Locke, and I'm a counsel for V-Friends. My day-to-day consists of pretty much everything, something different every single day. Any matters that affect the company or brand that come across the company that I have my hand in one way or the other, whether it's employment issues, the fine print on the back of your Veecon tickets, insurance, regulatory issues, or the Please Take a Step Back song and music video featuring Gary and Snoop Dogg. Now, when most of you hear that song or see the music video, you probably think that's a dope track and a sick music video. I think that too. However, the way my brain works is I see Gary's name image like this, Snoop's name image like this, Snoop's voice, Gary's voice, Snoop's logo, Death Row's logo, Snoop's Bored Apes IP, Gary's Bored Apes IP, and a mechanical and music license. So that's a little brief insight into my brain. Like many of you are probably wondering, a few short months ago, I was wondering how the hell did I get here? And so I guess we'll start from the top briefly. For undergrad, I went to the University of Michigan where I majored in sports business. I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. However, I had found out that to go to law school, it doesn't matter what you major in. So I chose to major in something I found interesting, which was sports business. However, shortly I found myself gravitating towards creative and branding and things of that nature and tried to figure out how to square those two interests. I had read about intellectual property in a book I was reading, and then a light bulb immediately went off. I thought about it in the context of, a sports team, because that's, where my studies were focused. So let's look at, I guess, the Indianapolis Colts, given where we are. Players retire, players get traded, players get hurt, coaches come and go, even owners come and go, cities even move, teams even move cities and states. However, there's one thing that remains, and that's their IP. The Colts started in Baltimore, and now they're in Indianapolis. The horseshoe's still there, the name Colts is still there, their branding, their uniforms, their colorway, that's all still there. So this is around probably 2011, 2012, and I noticed, while also noticing that all my passions centered around IP, I also saw the macro trend shifting towards intangible ownership of property. If you look at Uber, the world's largest transportation company, they don't own any automobiles. You look at the world's largest hospitality lodging company, Airbnb, they don't own any real estate. You look at the largest media company, now Meta, they don't put out any content. So I saw that shift and saw that things were moving more towards intangible property, and I decided to go all in on IP at that point. So I started my career in licensing at an agency called Brangenuity, where I represented MGM Films, the NFL Players Association, Viacom, and a few others. After a few years of running BMW's interactive licensing program, where I did all their video games, so if you play an arcade game at a Dave & Buster's, or a console game on Xbox, PlayStation, or a mobile game, and there's a BMW car in it, there's a 99% chance I did that deal. And so I found myself wanting to gravitate more towards software and tech. So I went to a large law firm called Wilkie Farr and Gallagher, where I did a lot of software acquisition and software licenses and some entertainment work. And then one of my dreams was always to use my knowledge of IP and start a company and brand around that knowledge. And once I started learning more about Web3 and NFTs, I saw a big opportunity, and I started a company called Board of Directors that licensed 10 to 15 Bored Apes onto products worldwide, and now it's in 50 plus countries and stores like PacSun, Walmart, Target, etc. And so at that point, for the first time in my career, I felt like I finally made it and was where I was supposed to be. And then a recruiter hit me up with the opportunity to interview for VFriends. And if you get the opportunity to interview Gary Vee, you obviously have to take it. And we immediately hit it off and decided that's what I was going to do. And when I told my parents I was going to quit my firm, they said, "You're going to quit one of the best law firms in the world and go bet it all on cartoon NFTs." And I said, "You bet your fucking ass I am." All right, thank you. So, all right, enough about me. Let's go over to the amazing panelists we have. We have, first, Shekinah's going to tell us a little bit about herself, then Justin, then Alyssa. So, Shekinah.
Hey, what's up? I don't know, you guys like your brain in it. It's pretty hot outside, but hopefully you'll stay cool. Yeah, my name's Shekinah, based in DC, originally from Miami. I'm a lawyer within Web3, within the Web3 space. I have a background in, goodness gracious, people are waving. Hello. But I have a background in financial crime investigations with crypto, blockchain analysis. Currently working, like I think someone said, general counsel for Dead Fellows, former counsel for Artifact, and primarily for those two companies, just doing transactional law, which is reviewing contracts, drafting contracts, and also just filing IP. So that's a little bit about me. Thanks.
Hey everybody, my name is Justin Macari, the owner of Mac Tax CPA. We handle personal business income taxes, financials for businesses, and the reason I'm here to teach you guys a little bit about NFT and crypto taxes, help you guys stay out of trouble and actually use the tax code to your advantage. There's a lot of good opportunities out there. So quick background about me. Started my career at PwC. I began building my practice on the side when COVID hit, working 110 hours a week, 2 tax seasons. Got my business to about half of what I was making, took the leap of faith to go full-time with it after a year. In that time, VFriends minted, and what started as just helping a couple members in the Discord community with questions, helping them understand their crypto taxes, turned into a huge practice area for our firm. I'm very proud of the work our team has done. The Zen Ledger tax professional. You'll see me on some of their content, trying to help educate everybody. We've done NFT taxes for your average individual, businesses, NFT projects, and also a few VFriend whales in here. So again, the goal is to provide you guys as much value as possible. Just want to say a quick thank you to all you guys in the community who've given me the positive support, clients and the Discord mods. If I don't get to your question today, I've left a couple of business cards around. You can find me in Discord, mactaxcpa.com. I'll answer your question. I try and do what Gary says. I give it all away for free. Hope we can provide you some value.
Thanks, Justin.
Hi everyone, I'm Alyssa Jordan. You might know me as Schmooper Girl. I am a lawyer, but I'm not yours. I'm hers. Honored to have the founder and CEO of the company that I serve as Chief Compliance Officer and General Counsel for, Ohana Link Technologies. We are a women-founded technology company, and we're changing the world for victim services providers and connecting them safely, securely, and discreetly with victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and eventually trafficking. So we're changing the world. Join us. I started my career as a social worker, and then I moved over to health insurance. And then as I developed a hankering somehow in a weird way for compliance and ethics in that corporate structure, I decided, hey, I'm a single mom. I should go to law school full time at night. So went through that journey, became an attorney, and that is really when my passion for evangelizing ethics in the corporate structure really took its foothold. And it's carried over to this crazy realm of Web3. As you all know, you hear me talk about it all the time on Spaces. You'll see me tweet about it, and you'll also find me calling people out whenever they're not aligning with the values that matter. I also have the distinct honor of co-hosting a podcast, Rug Radio. With Rug Radio, we're called Growth Mindset Moment, and I co-host that with my incredible partner and husband, Ron Jordan. I'm very transparent about my ADHD in that space and here. That's why I have this little cheat sheet. But we talk about finding ways to always enjoy the journey of what this life brings and overcoming obstacles. So thank you all, community. We are here because of this community that was cultivated and curated. And I'm so proud to be a part of it. I have been for 2 years, and I can't wait to see how this community grows and we all change the world together.
That was good. All right, thanks everyone. What a crew we have up here. Damn. So, Alyssa, something you said struck a chord with me. I used to work at a bank for a little bit. Thank God I got out of that. But they used to lump legal and compliance together. And most people, myself included, sometimes I'm guilty, kind of have trouble drawing the distinction between the two. What exactly is the difference between compliance and legal, and why should anybody care?
You should all care about both of those things. And it's a great question, Alex. You know, I think a lot of people get it confused, but there's a real short answer that I usually give when I'm asked this question. Legal tells you what you can and cannot do based upon your contractual obligations and what the law says. Compliance and ethics professionals tell you what you should do. And sometimes those answers are not the same when you're talking to the legal side versus the compliance and ethics side. Legal and compliance tend to overlap. To Alex's point. But generally, legal's going to advise you on transactions and, they should be reviewing all of this content before it goes out the door. And by the way, if knowing that there's a legal or compliance department in your business is a mystery to you, please hit me up after this panel so I can give you my card, because you should know that these departments exist in your business or where you work or in the businesses you're founding and starting. Legal advisors are your trusted partners in business. They help make sure that you're protected along the way. Your intellectual property is protected. Your name is protected. Conversely, compliance, you find more compliance professionals in highly regulated environments. Finance, health insurance, healthcare, technology. And I think technology, the emerging of compliance and technology has become way more prevalent now. And I attribute a lot of that to the growth of Web3 and blockchain technology as well. But compliance are the people that are consulting with your business on a daily basis. They're at the table when you're making strategic decisions, and they're a part of helping you mitigate risk. They're assessing risk with you. They're mitigating risk with you. They're at the table with you at the time that the decisions are being made. If that practice is foreign to you, it needs to be fixed. That's not legal advice, but it is compliance advice. Why does all this matter? It all matters because the glue that holds us together is ethics. Having core ethical values that drives your business forward is the glue that holds all of the strategy forward. And it is traits like, these might sound familiar by the way, transparency, accountability, integrity, respect, trust. Those core ethical values are at the top of my mind because they're our core values at our company that we've established, and every decision we make from a business perspective leads with those values first. So, the glue that holds it all together is the ethics piece, because I will tell you this, absent any of these three things working together, legal, compliance, and ethics, your reputation is at risk. And what part of your business holds more value than your reputation?
Thanks for that. That was great. Speaking of compliance issues, I know this is all one we face and all of us love. Taxes. Justin, What's the number one thing people misunderstand when it comes to crypto and taxes?
So great question. First thing that most people misunderstand is, yes, unfortunately, you guys do have to report this on your taxes. It's actually so important that they made it the first question after your name when you fill out the tax form. The second thing is everything is a taxable transaction, and you can't just report what's on a KYC exchange where they're issuing a 1099. And in fact, you could end up running into more problems, spending more money filing your returns if you don't tell the IRS first what you did rather than them telling you what you did. So everything's a taxable transaction. If you purchase Ethereum and then you went and bought your Veecon, even though you never took USD, even though you never brought it back to your bank account, even though it's sitting in your MetaMask, those are all taxable transactions. Every single time you swap digital asset for another digital asset, you have a taxable transaction. Also, another one that catches people off guard, staking income and airdrops, those are ordinary income, and we've all had the situation, you receive something, decreases 90%, and you sell it. You say, okay, all right, I took the loss, it'll net out, I won't owe anything. Well, that's ordinary income, and you have a capital loss, which is limited to $3,000 for the year. So, and if you're a business in here, you have to actually sell that to realize the loss because it's all property. So with all these misconceptions being said, it is May. For those of you that are sitting here paying attention, you have the rest of the year to actually use the gray area and the limited guidance to your advantage and do tax planning, document, get it in software, realize what you owe before the end of the year, rather than sitting there on April 14th trying to plug all your crypto in and see what you owe.
All right, awesome. I definitely need that advice myself. I guess, Justin, while we have you here, I don't know about you, but I've seen everybody and their mother starting LLCs, especially people in the Web3 community. Does that mean I don't have to pay taxes if I start an LLC?
Another great question. Yeah, so probably the first misconception I'd say is forming an LLC in Wyoming is not going to get you out of paying taxes, especially California taxes. So when you form an LLC, it's a legal concept. So I have all my attorneys up here, they'll explain that to you, but you still have to pay tax where you're operating, where your payroll is, where your sales are, where your physical presence are. So if you're operating out of California, New York, some other state, and you're formed in Wyoming, you're actually going to have two tax filings. You have to re-register in Wyoming, and you got to file your taxes where your business is performing business activity. Now, the advantage to this is, I was just mentioning, if you get airdrops, if you get staking, it goes to zero. You got to pay it based on the value when you received it, and you have a capital loss. A current advantage is if you're in the business of buying and selling digital assets, it's all looped under one umbrella right now with the IRS, digital assets. Now, that's going to change. It's coming, it's changing. But for now, it's still one umbrella. So if you own a house flipping business, you buy and sell houses, and it's your actual business, you spend 500 hours on it a year or more, you materially participate, that's all ordinary income and ordinary loss. So if you have losses and you're running a business, you can sell those. It's ordinary losses. You can use all of those, worthless rugs to actually your advantage and lower your taxable income in your NFT business, in your crypto business. But again, it's changing. It's going to change soon. So take advantage while you can legally of the laws that we have.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Justin. I'm sure everybody could use all that advice. Shekinah, there's a world of existing regulation that already applies to businesses. I know you're a subject matter on this topic, so can you let us know of any things that businesses and owners should pay attention to and look to that currently exist?
Absolutely. Essentially, I want to talk about regulations. I feel like it gets such a bad rap, and so I want to talk about anti-money laundering and know your customer, so your KYC, and AML would be your anti-money laundering, and talk about those, just so you understand the importance of them and why you want to incorporate some of that to be compliant with the regulations within the states you're operating in and the countries that you're operating in. So obviously, anti-money laundering, it's like, what is it? Usually, or money laundering rather, what is it? typically, it's hiding the source of funds, and these funds have originated, from criminal activity. So that's essentially what it is. And why it's important is because, within the crypto industry, and yes, we know we can track things on the blockchain, but there are ways. I'm not going to go into the ways that people attempt to hide the original source, of what they're doing. But you have your tax agencies, your federal and state tax agencies, as well as your federal government. And when I mean federal government, I mean the Department of Justice and the equivalents, internationally, that do have access to blockchain analysis software. So they are able to track, what you're doing. So when it comes to taxes, trust me, they're able to track what you're doing. And when it comes to criminal activity, they're also able to track it. The tools do exist. And why it's important is because there are folks out there who are using cryptocurrency and different exchanges and mixers, to hide funds and to fund, child pornography, drug trafficking, human trafficking, just so many other types of crime, also just even terrorist financing. There were advertisements from different terrorist groups over the past few years with a Bitcoin address, with an Ethereum address. And it's fact, I promise you, it's actually true. So it's something that is important. And so that's why I do think, I hope that we would begin to embrace regulation, but also embrace, just again, AML policy, so anti-money laundering policy, as well as KYC policy, with the different startups that you guys are creating. The other thing I wanted to mention was about the whole FTX, kind of debate. Well, before I go to that one, I want to talk about with the European Union, what they've just kind of put through their MiCA regulation, which is markets and crypto assets regulation. And essentially that, it kind of sets the guidelines of how they're going to kind of just govern or kind of just, I hate to use the word police, but I can't think of another word right now, but kind of just police, or kind of just, again, protect consumers that are engaging within the cryptocurrency ecosystem, or rather blockchain, ecosystem. And what's going to happen with that is you're going to have the different states, the different member states of the European Union that are going to create their national laws based off that guidance, the MiCA guidance. What's important is the MiCA guidance, like I said, it primarily focuses on protecting, it primarily focuses on consumer protection. It does not it does not touch on NFTs, but it kind of touches on, custodial wallets, trading platforms, crypto exchanges, more in that realm. And what's going to be interesting is once the different member states create their national laws, they're going to try and define NFTs and some of these other terms and DeFi, etc. And I'm mentioning that because last week I was in the Baltic nation, which is in Northern Europe. It's called Estonia. And I was sitting with the Ministry of Finance and with some other, I guess, with it Bitcoin, whatever, I don't know this guy's BitBoy, and some other folks. And we were just not advising them, but just talking about our experience with crypto. And that was one thing that we were talking around the table about, how would we define, NFTs. And so I say that, to say that, yes, we know this regulation is coming, but you do have, different governments that are trying to get it right and are talking, to stakeholders. But what I wanted to mention with the hold with FTX, so obviously we know what happened with FTX, last fall, and how many folks around the world, it hurt, financially. But there was one country, that was virtually unscathed by it, because they had some regulation in place, and that was Japan. And so FTX, so within Japan, what was it? So Mt. Gox, which is another crypto exchange, it was based in Japan, and there was a lot of, and it fell apart, and a lot of people got hurt financially, and that happened in 2014. And there was also a hack of a crypto exchange in Japan called CoinCheck. In 2017 is when these events happened. The Japanese government, the Financial Services Agency, decided, so we got to create some regulation around crypto to protect, our local consumers. And so that's what I'm saying again, and that's what they did. And so the rule within Japan was the crypto exchanges, they have to keep 95% of the customers' crypto in cold storage. And so which would have canceled out the commingling of funds, is which FTX is doing. So again, to kind of wrap things up, that's the importance of regulation. Like it is important, and with the startups that you guys are creating, that I think some of you are creating, you want to keep that in mind. It's okay. You want to know what are the anti-money laundering and KYC regulations within your state, because states have them too if you're in the U.S., and then also the federal government as well. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Shekinah. Yeah, I mean, regulation is certainly a topic on everybody on this stage is mine, and probably, if not, it should be everybody out there. I'm certainly anxious to see what the government's going to come up with, but with that being said, I like to put things in perspective. And if you think about it, boats existed before maritime law existed. Cars were invented before roads were invented. Planes were invented before we had TSA or airports. So innovation almost always exceeds regulation. And if we do get to a point where regulation trumps innovation, then one of two things have to be true. Either we have the most efficient, effective government ever, or innovation stopped. I think we have quite a bit of time and work until our government gets their shit together, so I think innovation for the foreseeable future will always come before regulation. So with that being said, what I like to do is, yes, while there's not any too much crypto or NFT specific regulation out yet, look to the past and use the smell test and your gut. And does this sound? If you think it might sound sketchy, it probably is. And look to past practices. See what happened with the internet. At first, that was the Wild West, and then it got reined in. So learn from the mistakes of the past. And I always like to look at things from the lens of, if what I'm doing or what I'm saying right now gets read out loud 5-10 years from now in a deposition or in a courtroom, well, I look back on that text and say, wow, Alex, you're so smart. Or say, wow, Alex, you're a fucking idiot. So that's a little bit of how I plan to deal with the impending regulation. But how much time do we have left? All right, well, we got 2 minutes, so... All right, I'm sure none of you guys have heard about this at all, but Alyssa, do you think AI will replace us?
So here's a fun fact. We've heard so many people so scared to death about AI taking over the jobs of everybody, including lawyers and CPAs. I'm not worried about it either, Shekinah, honestly. I'm not worried about it. Here's case in point. I asked ChatGPT how I should prepare to come and speak on the stage at Veecon about compliance and ethics. And it told me to start with a power Wonder Woman pose.
Do it. Do it.
Okay, I don't know that was really effective at communicating anything related to compliance and ethics, but what it did communicate is that AI has a long way to go. There's so much grooming that has to be done with the system, and it requires our brains and our innovation, our creativity, our reason, all of these thoughts and dynamic things that we do, our personalities, our values, in order to incorporate the foundation that AI and things like ChatGPT lays for us to be able to innovate further. And I think as long as we continue to leverage AI as the foundation to advance innovation in some of the ways that you were just talking about with regulation, it'll sort itself out and we'll all have jobs. It'll be okay.
I hope you're right. All right, one last question to close us out, which I'm sure many of you have heard or asked or overheard. Justin, what the hell is an S-Corp?
So also, just on that point, maybe ChatGPT 5, but don't plug your tax return into ChatGPT. It's a little bit of a disaster. S-Corp. S-Corp is a tax election. It's not a legal entity. So your LLC could make an election to be an S-Corp. An S-Corporation is one of the things an LLC can be. A corporation could also be an S-Corp. Again, it's a tax election. It doesn't change your legal status. So S-Corps, the short answer is very beneficial if you're profitable. You'll save a lot of money on your self-employment taxes. You got to pay yourself something reasonable. The rest that you show as a business profit, you can have multiple owners. The rest that you show as business profits split amongst the owners. That is, you'll save money on your self-employment taxes. Whereas an LLC with 2 owners is a partnership. You have a little bit more flexibility in following your operating agreement, but you're going to get hit with that self-employment tax.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Justin, and thanks all of you for listening. If any of you have any questions or want to follow up with any of us, we're more than happy to chat. So come find us after this. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.